So I made a video of me changing the pickups on this Squire Affinity. I decided I was going to see if I can make this a better sounding bass. So what you first saw was me removing the strings. The strings were relatively new, so I wasn't going to replace them. And now I'm taking off the plate. Doing stuff like this is not that hard. If you know how to solder, it can go pretty easily. So there's the plate taken off. I'm obviously running this fast because this all took about 35-40 minutes to do, to get everything set up and all that. But so right now I'm checking the wires to take out the P bass style pickups. So I am disconnecting them with the soldering iron. The worst thing about this really is that the soldering iron is hot. It'll burn the crud out of you if you don't be careful, or you can catch your house on fire. So you just got to be careful with the soldering iron. As you can see, one other wire came off, so I soldered it back on to make sure I didn't lose the placement of it. And now I am unscrewing the pickups and putting the new Seymour Duncan SPB-3s, quarter pounders, or SPB-3s, one or the other. So I'm lining those lined up directly with the holes. Sometimes that doesn't happen depending on the bass or guitar. If you're doing it's basically the same if you're doing a guitar. Putting in the other half of the pickup right now. A drill with some speed control helps a lot. This is where I am resoldering the joints or the wires back to the spots. The active wire, the positive wire, goes to the middle of the pot in this wiring case, and the other one, the black one, is the ground. So I'm putting that on. And then I'll add a little bit more solder to it to make sure I got a good solid connection. As you can see, soldering is really not that hard. You got to get one that gets hot though. Now I'm replacing the rear, the bridge pickup, the J style. Same thing. I've traced the wires after I loosened it up, and then I desoldered them or disconnected them. I didn't really take the solder out. Pulled the pickup out, and then you have to feed the wires back through the hole. This one's drilled hole, unlike the other one's got the cavity. Most P bass styles have a big pick guard, so you generally just use where it's been plowed out. Just screwed back the pickups in, and now I am soldering back the wires to where they belong. So that one's the ground in this case, back onto the back side of the pot, and this is the hot onto the second knob, which is the volume. It's in the middle. Once again, the middle, there's 3 prongs sticking out of the pot, and this one is connected to the middle. So what I'm doing right now is I plugged it in, and I am checking just by tapping on the poles to make sure it's working before I put it all back together. As you can see, the bass or the pick guard went on pretty well, and now I'm getting ready to screw this back into place. You don't want to overscrew and strip your holes, but an easy remedy for that is use toothpicks. Just fill the holes up with toothpicks, put the screw back in. Now I'm quickly restringing the bass with the strings I have, which happen to be flat wounds, Rotosound flat wounds. And that's another reason why I didn't want to get rid of them. Bass strings are expensive. And there's the last one I was putting in. And now I'm taking the time to tune the bass. playing a couple notes just to make sure everything's working okay. I noticed that the neck was just slightly bent.
Neck's got a little bit of a bow in it.
Something I adjusted later. Now in doing these tests, you're going to notice that it's not much of a sound difference. All my rig is kind of set through the system, so what you're hearing is going from my pedal board into the mixer, and from the mixer into the camera. So they sound very similar on the recording, but in actual live there was quite a bit of difference. The Seymour Duncans were definitely lower in tone than the stock Squire Fender pickups that were in it. And the jazz pickup seemed slightly brighter on the high end, but generally it was lower also. But in this video, you will find that it sounds fairly similar. The video was shot by my friend Jim, aka Mid-Bass Crisis, and we kind of did this over a period of about 45 minutes or so, in which once again I chopped this down because I felt nobody's going to watch this for 45 minutes, so I zoomed through it. I have a follow-up video in which I ended up changing the bridge. If I thought ahead of time, I would have bought a bridge, a high mass bridge, before I did this, but I didn't, and so I did it probably 3-4 days after I did this video. But I am very happy with the sound of the new pickups and the bridge. So this will be a bass I will use more often. I mainly did it because my P basses don't have a very good high end on the G string. But now I might. In a song that I recently did by A Flock of Seagulls, I really needed a bigger bite on the G string, so that's what prompted me to do this. The pickups were $135 at Guitar Center, and like I said, it's an easy change. You might want to consider it if you're happy with your bass but not your tone. You might want to consider this.